2006. They're both 26. They meet tonight. They both share a piece of Major League history. Ground ball. This might do it. Hanley to first. He did it! He did it! Anibal Sanchez! He joins Al Leiter, Kevin Brown, and A.J. Burnett as Marlins who have tossed no-hitters.
He's got the sign. Here's the 1-2. Ground ball to second. Vargas to first. Ubaldo Jimenez has no hit. The Atlanta Braves. The first no-hitter in Rockies history.
Hello there, South Florida. Welcome to a night of baseball. Sun Life Stadium, ready to go, the Marlins. And the wild card leading Colorado Rockies. It's a 4-game series. Yes, they both own a piece of baseball history. In 2006, as a rookie, Anibal Sanchez threw a no-hitter. And, of course, Ubaldo Jimenez, the first no-hitter in Rockies history. In a year here where there have been 4 no-hitters. Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz, pleased to have my partner, Tommy Hutton, back. Welcome back, partner.
Well, thanks. I'm probably happier to be back than the Marlins hitters are tonight to face Ubaldo Jimenez.
Did you bring some hits with you?
Well, I hope so. In seeing the games over the weekend, the Marlins had some opportunities. They saw some tough pitching. It doesn't get any easier tonight.
Rockies haven't scored a lot of runs this weekend as well. They had a tough series in Cincinnati. Let's start with Jimenez, of course, and he started the All-Star game. He is having a season of historic proportions right now.
Here's a guy, a 15-game winner before the All-Star break. The last time that was done was 2000. It was David Wells. You have to go back to 1988, the last time a pitcher had 15 wins before the All-Star break in the National League. It was Greg Maddux. His guy has 3 quality pitches. He can go upstairs with 97 or 98. He can drop a curveball on you. He can throw a tremendous changeup. Not an easy matchup tonight, but look at Jimenez over his season. The walks a little bit more lately, the strikeouts down somewhat, but either way you look at it, this guy has been tremendous. The other bit of bad news, on the road, his ERA is under 2, and he's 9-1.
Marlins, of course, face Steven Strasburg to open up this homestand, and the hitters this weekend just weren't hitting. That's the bad news. The good news, the Marlins won 2 of 3. They did it with great pitching and great bullpen. What's up with the bats right now?
This has kind of been a good news, bad news thing. I know we've been throwing at you. 3 wins and a loss in the last 4 games, and the base hits have not come that often. But when you win 3 games, that's okay because the pitching has been tremendous. You need guys like Hanley, Jorge Cantu, Dan Uggla, Cody Ross. You need the meat of the order to start driving in some runs.
And they need Anibal Sanchez to continue a nice run. The Marlins starters, along with the bullpen, have had a nice last 4 games. And Sanchez gets the start tonight. The Marlins are hoping that Anibal can stare down Ubaldo. Hey, Terry Cashman wrote that song, Talkin' Baseball. When we're back, we're talking bullpen. Marlins and Rockies coming up. and Rockies ready to go, and we start things out in left field with Craig and Niner.
Thank you, Rich. Looking forward to this series. Should be a good one. Rockies won the series earlier this year 2-1 against the Marlins. That was in Denver. The Marlins have always played very well against Colorado. 47-27 lifetime here at home. This is a very good Rocky club. One of the things the Marlins may have to lean on in this series is their bullpen. In the past, you might say, whoa, that could be trouble. Well, lately, that has been anything but the case. What a turnaround here for the pen.
Well, it's kind of a little microcosm of the entire Marlins season. When the offense was hot, the starting pitching was good, the middle relief and bullpen let them down. Now, the anchor of the whole team right now is the middle relief and long relief of this bullpen. Veras comes in last night, huge strikeout of Ryan Zimmerman after a 3-0 count. You know, over the weekend, 6 innings on Friday, 6 innings on Saturday, 5 1/3 on Sunday by the Marlins starters. So they had a big load to pick up, and boy, did they come through. They held no runs the entire series. They've had no runs the last 22 innings.
Yeah, they only scored
22 innings, no runs. Headers are hitting under 200 against them, and I think the key stat in this whole deal is only 3 walks. They've only given up 3 walks in that span. So you know that the guy's got great stuff when they're in the strike zone.
Jose Veras, 10 appearances, 12 scoreless innings since his contract was selected on June 25th. Edwin's not sure, he told me before the game, not sure he'll be able to pitch tonight. Hensley's done his job. They got the big outs in the series, and it's been a great combination. The home ERA has been very good, as you know, from the starters. The pen of late, outstanding, and Nunez with a couple of saves. I believe he leads NL relievers now in saves this month. 22 innings, no runs. Look at the hits and the numbers you talked about. Terrific strikeout to walk ratio. You're not giving up hits and walks. You're not going to give up runs.
You know that the new stat of the now is the WHIP, the walks and hits per innings pitched. You look at that stat right there. 22 innings, only 15 hitters that have reached base in those 22 innings. So that adds up to really good stuff.
That's a good whip. No doubt about it. And the Marlins are trying to whip it good as well in this series. Tonight, though, to win, they're going to have to beat a good one in Ubaldo Jimenez. At least hang in there with them. And Abel Sanchez will pitch against him. Rich and Tommy are coming up next.
Moving forward, and by AT&T, find out what's possible with the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, rethink possible. In South Florida tonight, the Marlins and the Rockies ready to go. Colorado at 50-41, tied for the wild card lead with Cincinnati. They just left Cincinnati. Seth Smith is in left field. Jonathan Herrera has done a real nice job filling in at second after the injury to Tulowitzki. Carlos Gonzalez is one of the best-kept secrets in the National League. Jason Giambi is red hot. Miguel Olivo is having a terrific year. Brad Hoff is in right. Ian Stewart is at third. Barmas has slid from second to short with the Tulo injury. And Jimenez will be in the 9 spot.
Happy to be back on the mound where he pitches best is Anibal Sanchez. ERA of 2.50 here in this ballpark.
And against a good offensive team, but a team much like the Marlins, Tommy, that didn't score a whole lot of runs in their weekend series against the Cincinnati Reds.
Which is pretty amazing in that ballpark, too. The thing about Sanchi, his last couple of outings have not been good. His ERA in July is a little over 8. Those 2 starts, one in Arizona, one in Atlanta. So he's happy to be pitching here.
That one hit on the ground and into right field, the base hit. Seth Smith, the former Rebel of Ole Miss, former teammate of Chris Coughlin. He's at first base. Our defense tonight brought to you by TGI Friday.
How about that? There's Emilio Bonifacio with the start in left field. Cody and Mike Stanton fill out the outfield. Cantu and Sanchez at the corners. Hanley and Uggla up the middle. And Ronnie Paulino behind the plate.
Here now is the switch hitting second baseman, the Venezuelan Jonathan Herrera, who has been outstanding. And he takes a strike. Herrera has been hot, and of course the Rockies miss Troy Tulowitzki. He goes out on rehab tomorrow. Clint Barmas moved from second over to short. Herrera has filled in. Though some think that the Rockies might still be looking for a second baseman or maybe a first baseman.
Yeah, the Rockies and Jim Tracy have really been fortunate with the job that Herrera's done, and also Barmas. Barmas has only made 1 error at short since filling in for Tulowitzki.
There is Jim Tracy, the skipper of the Rockies. Runner goes, swing and a miss. Paulino's throw right on the money, and Ronnie Paulino throws out another runner. The All-Star break really has done Ronnie a lot of good, both with the bat and behind the plate.
Well, a failed hit and run, and the whole key is to get Herrera to chase that pitch, which he had to do with the hit and run, then a perfect throw by Ronnie Paulino to get Seth Smith.
Paulino right now throwing runners out close to 30% this year.
That is always a huge pick-me-up for a pitcher.
2-2 to Jonathan Herrera. Venezuelan, signed with the Rockies back in 2002, worked his way up the ladder, got to Colorado in 2008, and has been a hot hitter. Herrera, 367 since mid-June. And Sanchez misses high. He's given up a single, and he's walked Herrera. And now you get into some of the bigger bats that the Rockies have. Carlos Gonzalez.
Well, again, you also get a guy with some speed at first base. In all of his minor league career, Herrera with over 150 steals.
This guy is, and I said it when I did the lineups, I think one of the better kept secrets in the National League. Gonzalez is only 24. A guy that signed originally with Arizona, was involved in 2 big trades, went to Oakland in the Dan Herron deal, takes a strike, and then went from Oakland to Colorado with Houston Street in the Matt Holliday deal. And I think Colorado got the best of that deal because Gonzalez has put up very impressive numbers.
He has put up all-star numbers.
Yeah, the Rockies have a couple of guys that deserve to be on that all-star team that were not. Gonzalez is one, and Miguel Olivo, another.
Certainly at that catching position.
Tracy, the National League Manager of the Year last year. The Rockies 74-42 when he took over. And, of course, the wild card winner. Their best record ever last year at 92-70. And they are the king of the second half charge. Of course, under Clint Hurdle, they did it in 2007, and they did it last year under Jim Tracy.
Well, I'll tell you what, Rich, they're also the king of Coors Field. Because they're not the same team on the road. They're 19-25 away from Coors Field this year.
Cincinnati took 2 of 3 from them in Cincinnati. The Reds, of course, playing very well. The Rockies won yesterday 1-0. Struck him out. Sanchez gets Carlos Gonzalez. A pair of Venezuelans squaring off there.
Now dropped a nice curveball on the outer part of the plate. Gonzalez kind of gave up on it, but it just found that outside corner. Yeah, Aaron Cook, their tough right-hander, winning pitcher in that 1-0 game yesterday.
With Todd Helton on the disabled list, the Rockies have really leaned on Jason Giambi, and although those numbers right there don't look impressive, don't be fooled. Giambi has had a very good July, 462 in July. Helton may come off the disabled list before this series is over, but Giambi's delivered some big hits.
Yeah, I think you can really see in looking at this ball club how when you have injuries during the course of a year, and everybody does, how they've dealt with it. They've dealt with it well at second and short. They've dealt with it with Helton on the disabled list.
Herrera still at first. And Giambi takes outside. Of course, Giambi, a long career. He's 39. 7 years in Oakland, 7 years a Yankee. 5 times an All-Star, an MVP in 2000. He was part of that charge last year. He had 2 game-winning pinch hits in September, leading the Rockies to the wild card.
I think his September charge earned him a contract this year with them.
And to be honest with you, when we were in Colorado early in the season, and that was in late April, there were a lot of Rocky folks that were thinking to themselves, you know, maybe Giambi's done. But he's hung in there, and he's really been a nice boost while they wait for a couple of their big weapons in Tulowitzki and Helton to get back.
He's always been one of those guys to grind out at bats, too. A high on-base percentage, over 400 in his career.
Outside corner. Bill Welke's calling balls and strikes. Mike DeMiro's at first. Jim Reynolds at second. Scott Berry's at third. Our umpires for this 4-game series.
So what you're saying, no Jeff Kellogg?
No.
Tonight.
That in itself is a great story. Sanchez 3-2 with a runner on the move, and it's low and inside.
And a perfect example of Giambi grinding out it at bat and drawing the walk.
We told you from the outset, we showed you the highlights of the 2 no-hitters, Anibal Sanchez and Ubaldo Jimenez. Well, there's some common territory there, and one of them is digging in right now, and that's Miguel Olivo. Olivo caught both of those guys no-hitters. There was a great pregame feature on Marlins Live with the terrific baseball writer Tracy Ringlesby, as he sat down with both Sanchez, Jimenez, and Olivo, because Olivo caught both of those. As you pointed out, Jeff Kellogg was the home plate umpire for both of those. That's really odd. Same catcher, same umpire, 2 different pitchers. How about the year Olivo's had?
Well, you just pointed it out a couple of batters ago. He's having an all-star year. Unfortunately, he was not named to the National League team as an all-star catcher, but leading all catchers at the break in batting average, home runs, RBIs. Why wasn't he there?
Well, I'll tell you why. And we talk about the fans and their vote, but remember that the fans vote and then the players vote. And in the players' vote, Brian McCann was selected, and McCann is a guy that's been there now 5 years in a row. I think sometimes...
And look at what McCann did in the game.
Absolutely. Yeah, the game-winning hit. I think sometimes the players, like the fans or even the media, miss somebody like Olivo. As Miguel pulls it foul third base side. And I think another thing that may have hurt him is that new rule where catchers can re-enter the game.
So now club really can get by with 2 catchers.
An all-star team, you're right.
Yeah.
And one of our favorite guys, Miguel Olivo. Sanchez bounces that fastball up there, and it's 1-2.
Sanchez, of course, the fan vote was Yadier Molina.
Yep.
Who's not having a good year at all.
No, but of course he's maybe the best defensive catcher in the National League. You see the pitch count. Not a great ball-strike ratio. With runners first and second here in the first. High breaking ball, and it's fouled back.
The thing that has really helped Olivo this year when we saw him when he was a Marlin, pretty much all fastball hitter.
First pitch fastballs.
And I think with more playing time, which he's gotten this year, he's adjusted. He's hit breaking balls for home runs.
Got him, Sanchez. A breaking ball. Olivo goes out of the zone. Long first inning, but no runs for Anibal Sanchez. Enter Ubaldo Jimenez.
Oprimiendo el botón del SAT.
Bottom of the first inning, scoreless. Here's the Marlins lineup. The Fish 3 under 500 at 44 and 47. Emilio Bonifacio leads it off. Gabby Sanchez has been terrific. Had the big hit yesterday. Hanley Ramirez at short. Dan Ugla in the cleanup spot. Jorge Cantu at third. At home, Cody Ross has been outstanding. Mike Stanton in right. Ronnie Polino hits 8th. And Sanchez hits 9th. And here is Bonifacio, and here is Jimenez. And a sizzling fastball for a strike.
Well, the last time the Marlins faced Jimenez was in August of 2008, so he just has 2 career starts against the Fish.
Bonifacio chops it to first, and Giambi is there.
One thing Jimenez has allowed himself to do this year better than last year when he was 15 and 12 is not to always go for the strikeout. It's allowed him to get a little deeper into games, and there's an example right there on a ground ball out.
He was known his first couple of years in the league as a strikeout pitcher and as a guy that would touch 99 or 100 on the gun and stay there for a while, though it didn't have the best of control.
I think what you want to do during a game, you watch when he gets himself in that situation where he needs a strikeout, watch the velocity of his fastball go up.
Gabby, it's a sharp ground ball up the middle. Barmes ranging far to his left. What a luxury it is for Jim Tracy to have a guy like Barmes that you could move over to short in the absence of Tulowitzki.
Yeah, who at one time when Tulowitzki was at Long Beach State was the shortstop of the future. Brought to you by Fridays. TG Fridays, our defense tonight with Smith, Gonzalez, and Hopp in the outfield. Ian Stewart, Barmes, and Herrera, and Giambi around that infield. And Miguel Olivo behind the plate. Yeah, Barmes has made just one error during the time that he's filled in for Tulowitzki.
And, of course, Tulowitzki is one of the best fielding shortstops in the game. And that's one of the things that the Rockies do quite well. They turn a lot of double plays. Hanley rolls that one to Stewart. Jimenez with a 5-pitch inning. Yikes. He's rolling already. Scoreless ball game. Got another Super Saturday on this homestand, the 24th. Sean Diddy Combs, fireworks, Marlins and Braves. Sounds like a good Saturday night. You get a Marlins rally drum. The Marlins should have broken out the rally drums at the start of the homestand, the way they swung the bats this weekend. But you win 2 of 3.
They had the pitching drums out.
You don't complain. You're right. Hey, cowbells on Saturday. We missed you. Bruce Dickinson stopped by the booth.
Oh, did he? Really?
To say hello.
You know, you can never get enough cowbell.
Yeah, there you go. Brad Hott puts his pants on one leg at a time.
Yeah, but he doesn't make gold records.
He hits line drives, is what he does. He and Stewart and Clint Barmas will follow. There aren't a lot of easy outs in this Rockies lineup, and that's saying something even without a Todd Helton, whose power has declined but is still a tough guy to...
Yeah, a tough out.
Yeah, he'll grind you down. And Tulowitzki's a good offensive weapon. 1-2 coming. Good high fastball. Cantu back. And he's there and he makes the catch.
Well, after 25 pitches in the first inning, Anibal would like to settle in and have a lower pitch inning here.
There are plenty of statistics to talk about in the game of baseball. Here is one of the oddest going into this ball game. The Marlins, of course, won yesterday 1-0. The Rockies yesterday won 1-0. This is just the 6th time in Major League history that two teams face off the following day after winning 1-0 ball games.
That's pretty incredible.
It is. It's happened 9 times overall where a team has had like a day off after winning 1-0. And it's the first time it's happened in 34 years. The last time, Cardinals and Expos back in 1976.
And I'll bet you not too many people on the Marlins bench or the Rockies bench know about that.
I had no idea until it popped up in our little pregame notes from our good friends at Stats. Aaron Charlton probably working overtime to get us that one.
So far, so good. Edwin Rodriguez likes what he's seen in this inning. A couple of quick outs from Anibal.
So Ian Stewart is dispatched. And here is Barmas.
Be nice to get Barmas because then you can begin the next inning with Jimenez, the pitcher who's not a good hitting pitcher.
From Larry Bird's alma mater, Indiana State. Of course, Barmas came up, had that great rookie year. It was cut short by the odd injury where he fell down to some steps. Had to go back down the minor leagues because Tulowitzki was the latest and greatest thing. And then Barmas came back up and turned himself into a very good second baseman.
Yeah, to his credit, he overcame that injury, learned a new position, and now has become very valuable to the Rockies.
You talk to scouts, and Barmas' numbers are not eye-popping. He's at 267 homers, 42 RBIs, but they call a guy like Barmas a winning player.
Hey, by the way, you mentioned scouts, Rich. I think I saw probably more scouts down in the dining area than I've seen at any game this year. And you get a couple of weeks away from the trading deadline.
In the air, center field. A little soft serve for Cody Ross. That's a nice bounce-back inning for Anibal Sanchez. 11 pitches. Bring back Jimenez.
Cincinnati. They went 1-2 in the 3-game series, but it was pretty memorable for a couple members of the club. For starters, Aaron Cook got the only win of this series in his hometown. He's from Hamilton, a suburb of Cincinnati. In fact, it was his first road win of the year, and he has never lost now in his hometown club's park. Also, for manager Jim Tracy, a pretty neat weekend. On July 15th, he was honored by the city. He had a street named after him, Jim Tracy Way. He now has the keys to the city, as does Cook, and a street named after him as well. Hamilton is a big baseball hub. They love their baseball back there, guys.
And Jim Tracy is a baseball man, a baseball lifer who did a very nice job in Los Angeles, managed an impossible situation in Pittsburgh, and found himself with a team last year that was 18-28 and absolutely turned things around.
You know, I think we all know to manage successfully, and every manager will tell you, you have to have talent. But when you see a good manager kind of bounce from team to team, maybe have some success, and as you mentioned, Pittsburgh, no success, sooner or later that really good manager is going to surface.
And we've had the discussion many times, and how do you gauge who is good and who is not in terms of managers? Ugly takes that fastball inside, and it's 2-2.
I think so much in today's game is managing 25 players, managing the media, which you have to deal with.
Struck him out. Good breaking ball by Jimenez.
Well, we talked about Jimenez. He has 3 or 4 pitches, but then different angles. And that last one, the call strike, looked like he was off the plate. So, in essence, he has like 10 or 12 pitches because of the looks he gives you. He's got long fingers, kind of like Pedro Martinez. Good grip. That helps his changeup.
And you watch him on television, and you see him pitch in person, and he looks like he's 6'8", but he's not. He's 6'4". A running fanatic.
And all of a sudden, 98.
A running fanatic. He loves to run after every start. Usually runs 5-6 miles. Cantu fouls that one off, and it's 1-2. And that's scary when he starts the ball game at 92, 93, and then all of a sudden 98 appears.
Yeah. They're like, where'd that come from? And then up high with 98 again.
So he has retired the first 5 he's faced, and he's looked impressive doing it. Marlin fans, you can check us out on Facebook.com/Fox Sports Florida Sun Sports, where you'll find behind-the-scenes videos, polls, discussions, and more. Great way to interact with other Marlin fans and stay up to date on Fox Sports Florida and Sun Sports events and telecasts. Here's Cody now. The Marlins hitters taking this game, much like they did Friday night's game against Steven Strasburg, is a real challenge. And the Fish, in contrast to tonight, had Strasburg on the ropes the first 2 innings.
Yeah, that's one of the differences. Tonight, Jimenez threw 5 pitches in the first inning. Strasburg threw 34.
Breaking ball. Cody went after it, and it's 1-2. Couple hits for Cody in the weekend series, and that would make him one of the hotter hitters over the weekend. Gabby had 3. Ronnie Paulino had 3. And that's about it. But the Rockies, as we noted, are kind of in the same boat. As you pointed out, Mike Stanton waits on deck. 2-2 coming. See the movement on that pitch?
So you go back the last 4 games. You include the 2-0 win in Arizona leading up to the break. And the Marlins, as a team, are hitting 161.
Man, the run on that fastball took it from the outside part all the way down to the floor.
That's a pitch, by the way, that Jimenez loves to use, but with only Bonifacio, a switch hitter in the lineup hitting from the left side, it's a pitch he loves to use to left-handers, starting it at the knee, moving it back over the plate for a called strike.
A little bit of rain is arriving. Struck him out. Cody Ross tried to sell ball 4, and Bill Welke wasn't buying. Rockies and Marlins. Our Geico quote is coming up after that first pitch to Ubaldo Jimenez.
Yeah, I mentioned Jimenez, not the best of hitters as a pitcher, just 4 for 43. And you get 43 ABs is because he's gone deep into games, a lot of at bats.
And Jimenez could not check his swing. The count's 1-2. Jimenez impressive on the mound. I mean, the first inning for Jimenez, as you see, the rain has been dancing in and out of the stadium. Swing and a miss. So Jimenez, who has faced the minimum, goes down swinging. Top of the order comes up. Our Geico quote now arrives. Edwin Rodriguez talking about Alex Sanabia's first Major League win. You could tell he was nervous, but he seemed comfortable pitching uncomfortable. He made pitches when he had to.
I think that's one of the things we've liked just in the few times we've seen Alex. Not afraid to throw that change up anytime.
Not afraid to be aggressive in the strike zone.
Which all of a sudden Anibal Sanchez is after that first inning.
And Sanchez gave up a single and a couple of walks. Smith had the base hit, then he was caught stealing on a great throw by Ronnie Paulino.
You were talking about shutouts, with the two teams being shut out. The Marlins have had back-to-back shutouts now, pitched back-to-back shutouts, first time since '05.
That one got a piece of Paulino. It's 0-2. It'll be interesting to see how the break treats some of these starters. A guy like Anibal Sanchez. Jimenez is a front of the rotation guy, but because he started the All-Star game and because the Rockies wanted to give him a few days off, they haven't started him until the fourth game after the break.
I think it's important for Sanchez. Last year, remember, Anibal threw just 86 innings. The only time in his career he's ever thrown 200 innings was in '06, if you combine his AA numbers and big league numbers.
Good fastball got in on Smith. Hanley calls it. And makes the catch.
I think the ball club being real careful with Anibal Sanchez as he gets into territory. He's thrown over 100 innings now, 105 innings.
Edwin Rodriguez has seen his ball club take 2 of 3 over the weekend to open up this very important homestand. Here's Jonathan Herrera, the Rockies' second baseman. And we've talked about the pitching the Marlins are going to see on this homestand. Strasburg, of course, on Friday. Jimenez here. And then the Braves come in for a weekend series. And then the road trip, Tommy, it's like the Marlins run into the best of the best.
Yeah, you get the Giants, who threw exceptionally well against the Mets in that series with Lincecum and Zito and Kane. And then all you do from San Francisco is go to San Diego, and they have the best pitching in the league.
Yeah, both starters and bullpen have been great for the Padres. Off the end of the bat, Cantu puts a fork in it and then buries a throw to Sanchez for a sloppy error.
Yeah, that's sloppy because, bingo, all of a sudden, got a chance to have a nice 1-2-3 inning again. Good pitch. Had Herrera hitting it off the end of the bat, fielded cleanly, and then just a poor throw to Gabby Sanchez. So all of a sudden now the inning extends, and Anibal has to face the number 3 hitter, Carlos Gonzalez.
And you got a base stealing threat at first. And Gonzalez isn't just any number 3 hitter. He's a guy that's been very productive this year.
So nothing went right with that play.
No. Gonzalez hitting at .310, and in many years, .310, you know, that's a nice average, but it won't get you up in that league leader category. Gonzalez fouls it back. But this is the National League in 2010, and the National League is stacked with great pitching, and so .310 has Gonzalez tied with Joey Votto for 6th.
I think when you look back on this year, many will maybe refer to it as the year of the pitcher. Perfect games.
Wow, that is smoked by Gabby into the corner. Herrera falls. Stanton's throw cut by Gabby. Throw to second. Safe at second. Stanton made the right throw. I don't think he would have had Herrera at third, but a heads-up move by Gonzalez. And the Rockies end up with runners at second and third.
Yeah, this ball absolutely stung, and another reason nothing good came of that play, Gabby having to hold the runner, couldn't get to that shot because he's just off the bag. Watch Herrera, he slides and stumbles, but would have made it, and I agree with you, easily. At third, the heads-up play was Carlos Gonzalez going to second, and he's actually been given a double on that.
That will change.
Yeah, because you could see if he got a double if he didn't hesitate. But he hesitated at first base to determine what he was going to do.
What do you do if you're Stanton in that spot? You got a speedy runner headed towards third.
You forget about him stumbling because you assume he's not going to stumble. So you come back to the infield with your throw.
Giambi pops it foul and out of play. And I think Stanton came up looking for a cutoff man and decided Gabby was it.
However, if you do come up and throw towards second to Hanley, now Gonzalez doesn't go to second base. So the only thing he could have done differently, come up with that ball and throw it into second.
But of course, all of this transpires after a garden variety routine ground ball to Jorge Cantu. And that has forced Sanchez to dig deeper into his well in the pitch count department. He's up to 54 now.
Yeah, he would have had back-to-back low pitch innings.
Counts 1-2 on the Giambino. And he lines one into right field. That's a base hit. Up with the ball is Stanton. Here comes Gonzalez. The throw is high and wide, and it ends up in the dugout. And the Marlins throw it all over the park, and they make a mess of this third inning.
Boy, the sloppiness has continued in this inning. There's just a great example of a young outfielder making a mistake and a veteran hitter with a clutch base hit, which is what Giambi has done. Might have been a shot at the plate, I'm not sure. But regardless, you've got to hit that cutoff man. And then nobody behind the plate backing up.
Yeah, that's the other point.
Anibal Sanchez was standing out in fair territory in front of the mound.
Amen. That's the other point to this play.
So there are a lot of things. There are two errors, and then Sanchez's mistake not backing up home plate.
And you do it in a game where Ubaldo Jimenez is pitching. And you obviously have had trouble scoring runs. The Marlins, in their last 4 games, have scored just 5 runs. And so to give Jimenez a 2-0 lead on the road, where he's been almost untouchable this year. I mean, on the road, he's 9-1 with a 1.23 ERA.
Well, of course, 2 RBIs for Giambi, and then Giambi takes second on the error from Mike Stanton.
Here's Olivo, and don't make a mistake with Olivo. He'll put it in the seats.
There are a couple of ways to look at this whole situation, which started with Cantu's error. The other way to look at it is every once in a while your pitcher needs to work out of a situation and jam that his infielder or outfielder puts him in.
Two. Giambi is at second. Olivo waiting an 0-2 pitch. And Sanchez strikes him out for the second time. But the Rockies get 2 very unearned runs. Reserve your spot in line. Seat selection of the new Marlins ballpark is underway for current season ticket holders. 1-877-MARLINS. Well, here's Mike Stanton and his first look at Jimenez. Breaking ball for a strike. And it's 0-1. Stanton was 0 for 7 over the weekend. He did not strike out, and he walked 4 times. And Jimenez has thrown him 2 curveballs.
Well, the bad news, 13 out of his 18 starts, he's allowed 2 earned runs or less.
Well, there's a litany of numbers that we could spend all night just reeling off about the season that Jimenez has had.
You know, he was a good pitcher last year. He was 15-12 last year. But he's taking it to another level this year.
His ERA last year was 3.47. Of course, it's 2.20 right now. His no-hitter back in April. He no-hit the Braves. Stanton takes a breaking ball. That's good to see.
Boy, that was a nice swing on a tough pitch when he'd gotten behind. So Mike getting his first hit second half of the season. He was hitless in that National Series, but did draw some walks. So that's a good swing there.
Yeah, and he didn't strike out against the Nationals. Paulino now. Ronnie digs in. Ronnie's a good fastball hitter, so we'll see what Jimenez offers him. You talked about how good the Rockies are defensively. Count 1-0 to Paulino. Jimenez has not allowed an unearned run all year.
Yeah, the Rockies 5th in the league in defense.
And there you go. Ball.
See, you got to get it out there. You got to get that stat out there.
Under Herrera's glove and into right center. And the Marlins are set up first and third with nobody out. That had double play written all over it. The Rockies are one of the best at turning double plays.
So much time with Ronnie Paulino, the runner, and the ball skidded, stayed down on Herrera, and a rare error for the Rockies.
All right, what do you do here now if you're the Marlins? Because it's not Chris Coughlin on deck, it's Emilio Bonifacio.
Yeah, you still have a Sanchez sacrifice.
Third error for the second baseman. You got Paulino at first. Sanchez squares and takes outside.
Which is not easy because Paulino is at first. You have to drop down a pretty good bunt. We should address the Chris Coughlin situation. Feeling much better today. His lower back still going to have some therapy, and hopefully in a couple of days he'll be back in the lineup.
There's the bunt. It's a foul ball. And the count's 1-1
So you have all the principals involved up there. The no-hit guys,
yes.
Their catcher.
There's Tracy Ringlesby is one of the great riders in the game of baseball. There's a look at Coughlin.
Yeah, he had a little smile on his face today. He felt better, much better than yesterday.
Ringlesby had all three: Sanchez, Jimenez, and Olivo. Still bunting. Gets this one down. Jimenez fields and fires to first in time. So the Marlins have second and third, and this is an enormous at-bat in this ball game right now for Emilio Bonifacio.
Great job by Anibal Sanchez. It goes along with my theory. If you make the pitcher field it 90% of the time, you're going to get the job done instead of trying to be too fine going up the first base or third base line.
Bonifacio is not a very good bunter, so you could probably cross-squeeze off the list.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that here anyway.
Middle infield is back. They come in halfway at second, but the corners are in. And a throw behind the runner. Stanton is there. Olivo, as we know, has a rocket for an arm.
And likes to throw.
Likes to show it off.
Likes to fuel that rocket up.
Yes. There's the infield. Now, the infield would be this way on the corners anyway because of Bonifacio often tries to bunt for a base hit. So a ground ball up the middle, you got a rookie at third base in Mike Stanton, but a ground ball up the middle, if he gets a good jump, Tommy, he could score.
I think this is a situation, most of the time, with one out, the runner at third goes on contact. I think this is a situation you might think about that because you have Gabby Sanchez on deck.
Bonifacio into center field, base hit, and Paulino is going to score because the ball hit the mound and took a high kick, and it allows Paulino to score, and just like that, the Marlins have tied the game.
Well, what a great response to the Rockies getting a couple of unearned runs. The Marlins getting an opportunity with Herrera's error. Watch this ball hit the mound. Might have hit the rubber. Might have hit the pitching rubber. And because it did that, bounced so high in the air, that allowed Paulino to score from second base. So great job by Emilio Bonifacio.
Well, let's see if the Marlins think about running against Jimenez. Bonifacio still adjusting that wrist brace over at first base. Gabby takes a fastball for a strike.
I think one area the Rockies will certainly be careful with Jimenez the second half of the season. You mentioned the last pitcher with 15 wins at the All-Star break was David Wells in 2000. And there's an interesting part of that. The last National Leaguer was Greg Maddux in '88. They had 15 wins. But Maddux won only 3 games the second half of the season. Wells won only 5 the second half.
That's maybe one of the reasons they didn't start him until Game 4 after the break. Gabby tied up by that running fastball, and down he goes.
Yeah, and Jimenez himself, intercept fastball, man, that just ran inside hard to Gabby. Jimenez himself mentioned to some Rockies people that he was glad that he was skipped and waited 4 days.
So Edwin Rodriguez, we will visit with the Marlins skipper live in the 5th inning. Check that 4th inning. Hanley stands in. Hanley takes the ball. It's 1-0.
There's a little subtle part of mentioning that Jim Tracy made that decision.
That ball is thrown away. Bonifacio is off to the races. Let's see if he can get to third.
Oh, he can get to third. He can get to third.
The Rockies have committed 2 errors this inning.
Quick throw, a snap throw, but Jimenez threw it away. Look at Bonnie looking over his shoulder, and he knew he was going to get to third. The other thing about Jimenez, the 3 highest earned run totals that he's allowed this year have come in his last 4 games.
Remember, we said at the outset some of the numbers around Jimenez. He had not given up an unearned run all year long. And that obviously has changed this inning.
He's trying to figure out how to deal with it now.
Yeah, it's a strange feeling to him. Well, Hanley's got an opportunity with Bonifacio at third base. And a little pressure on Olivo, too. Hanley pushes a bunt right side and gets by him! And Bonifacio scores!
Oh, that's great to see. Look at the acknowledgement by Bonifacio to Hanley is saying, what a great bunt. All Hanley's trying to do there is to push it past the pitcher. If it gets by the pitcher, he's got the hit in the RBI, and it just does get out of the glove of Jimenez. Perfectly executed.
So Hanley picks up his 54th RBI, his first RBI in 9 games.
These are some of the things that Niner was talking to Craig about before the game. I'm sure he talked to you about over the weekend. When you're having trouble scoring, you've got to do those little things offensively.
Ugla now called out on strikes in the second. Takes a fastball outside. It's 1-0. So the errors forced Sanchez to throw 10 extra pitches. Jimenez has thrown 19 this inning. He's at 40 in the ball game. Breaking ball, Ugla fouls it back. One of the other things that Jimenez has done well this year, and both starters have done this exceptionally well, is keep the ball in the ballpark. Jimenez has given up just 6 homers. Tommy, he's gone 72 consecutive starts where he's given up 1 homer or less. That's the longest streak since Oral Hershiser did it between 1989 and 1993. And Hershiser did it over 90 starts. And in this series, you've got tonight's 2 starters. And the starter on Thursday, Josh Johnson, fewest homers in 9 innings in the National League. And Jaime Garcia might just be the Rookie of the Year in the National League, the starter for the Cardinals.
Anibal Sanchez and Josh Johnson have each allowed just 4 home runs. A little better feeling now for Sanchez.
Yes.
And there's the guy who dazzled in the All-Star game, JJ. Ooh, changeup. Oh, that was fastball.
Well, Jimenez wasn't chopped liver either. That's quite a 1-2 combo.
It was an easy decision for Charlie Manuel, who was 1-2.
Hanley's running at a wicked breaking ball, gets a stolen base, and is in scoring position now. Ugla will get a 3-2 pitch to swing at.
Hanley continues to lead the club. Great jump, a little peek over his shoulder. 19th steal of the year.
Ugla now with a 3-2 coming. Jimenez, who magically can dial up 98, 99 whenever he seems to need it.
This is one of those at times. Of course, he can also magically dial up a curveball off the table.
Fastball, and it goes to the screen. I think that noise was that it hit the umpire. Ugla has walked. And the Marlins have runners at the corners for Cantu.
Well, he did dial up that heater, but it was not close to the strike zone at all. The ball really takes off. And a wild pitch. It's even a wild pitch in Fox Expo.
Now it did hit Phil Welke. Bob Apodaca, the fine pitching coach of the Rockies, is out there. The Marlins have accomplished a lot of things here. Number 1, they've put 3 on the board. Number 2, they've extended Jimenez up into the mid-40s in his pitch count. Cantu, you know, and we heard him when he came into the dugout. Extremely angry at himself. His error opened the door for the 2 unearned runs for the Rockies. You know Cantu would love to atone for that.
Yeah, sometimes you don't get that opportunity right away to atone for it.
Jimenez struck him out back in the second. Runners at the corners. Olivo hopping out saying, look, I'll throw it.
Look, cat and mouse with Miguel Olivo and Hanley.
Ugla's at first. 0-1 coming. Rides inside. Hanley's RBI bunt single, a big part of this 3rd inning.
The thing about that 3-game stretch that Jimenez had when he gave up 17 runs in 17 2/3 innings, most of the damage was done in 1 inning in each of those 3 starts. Good hands by Joe Espada.
Joe, a very good infielder.
Thought Joe just having some fun taking ground balls at short in Arizona one day. Look at that.
In Exmo. Who needs a glove? Well, not a balk because Jimenez actually stepped off the rubber before he made the jump spin. But if you make the normal move as a right-hander to first and you don't throw it, that is a balk. Fastball, and he strikes out Cantu. So Jimenez ends a long inning, and it's a Rocky error that opens the door for the fish. Bonifacio drives in two. It's 3-2. The Marlins joins us now, Edwin Rodriguez. Skip, for your ball club, a nice bounce back inning in the third as Brad hot rolls one. Gabby's got it. Sanchi's over. And there's the first out. Your ball club right now is doing a lot of the little things right offensively in a stretch where you're not scoring a lot of runs.
Yeah, that was a very good inning. It was nice to see Bonifacio going through that big hit, two RBI base hit against a very tough right-handed. And then Hanley Ramirez, he surprised everybody with that safety squeeze kind. And that was a great play by Hanley, and a heads-up play by Bonifacio at third base.
Is that a play, Edwin Hanley's bunt, that he talks about, or somebody says, hey, you know what, be alive with Bonifacio at third, maybe drop down a bunt, or he just pulled that off?
Well, he just pulled that off, but Hanley and Bonifacio when Hanley was coming up to the plate, he kind of stared at Bonifacio at third base. So it's a play that, you always have a chance to do that, and Bonifacio was ready for it.
Sanchez gets a couple of quick outs on ground balls to the right side. Your bullpen has been outstanding. Your rotation has been solid right now. What's been the difference in your pen since you took over on the road trip?
Well, I think they've been more aggressive throwing strikes and going after hitters, pitching to contact. I think that has been the difference. I mean, they coming out of the bullpen and they try to get ahead right away. I think that has been the difference. I don't think there's much that has been changed. Just throwing strike, attack the hitters, and pitch to contact instead of looking for strikeouts.
All right, Skip, thanks for the visit.
All right, anytime.
Okay, thanks, Edwin.
We'll let you get back to work. We certainly appreciate Edwin Rodriguez with a live chat from the dugout.
You know, we do appreciate that. A lot of, I know you and I know a lot of managers who wouldn't do that in the course of a game, and that part I understand a little bit too, but nice for Edwin to take the time.
You know, not just visiting with the manager, but we're able many times to visit with starting pitchers when they come off. The Marlins give us here at Fox Sports Florida an awful lot of access more access than most major league teams get to behind-the-scenes stuff, and it helps make the telecast a lot more entertaining.
And we're able to enhance things a little bit. They get bored with you and I.
I know why. There's a 2-2. That one is ripped over the head of Cantu. Clint Barmas has a base hit. Takes a big turn. Bonifacio's throw keeps him at first. And Jimenez will come up here in the top of the 4th inning. I know you missed flipping the phone while you were gone, so here we go.
I was with you, though. I was thinking along with you.
How many bars did you have in Durango?
Not too many.
Who holds the Rockies record?
What kind of bars?
Wins in a season. Rockies record for wins in a season. I know one thing. I don't. It's not a 20-game winner, right?
I don't think they've had a 20-game winner. I always tell you the go-to guy, though, with the Rockies pitchers, Pedro Estacio.
All right. Pedro Estacio for 100, please. Nice inning by Sanchi. 3-2 Fish. Craig Minervini.
Well, thank you very much, Rich. The Colorado Rockies and the Florida Marlins, people may forget, they'll forever be tied because they both came into Major League Baseball the same year, way back in 1993. And their history, except for 2 big series wins for the Marlins, is alarmingly, strikingly similar. Look at the regular season wins. They're only separated by 4 there. Winning percentage coming into tonight exactly the same at .478. The Rocks have won got one more playoff game, but other than the one appearance, the Marlins, of course, have won. They're only 2 times into the World Series. And the other big difference, too, is managers. The Rockies are only on their 5th manager. The Marlins with Edwin Rodriguez on their 10th manager. Rockies did get to the playoffs first, but the Marlins, of course, the World Series winners in '97 and '03. The Rocks still searching. They were close a few years ago with a late run. Guys?
No, they had that stretch, too, with Clint Hurdle as a manager for quite some time.
Yeah, the all-time series, 73 and 74. With the advantage going to the Rockies.
A chance to tie that all-time series.
Cody Ross, it's the first AB of the 4th inning against Jimenez. Tied up by a fastball.
Cody just has to picture Coors Field and think of the Rocky Mountains because of the way he's hit against the Rockies in their ballpark.
He had the one series, was it 15 RBIs? Or was it 12 RBIs?
He had 4 consecutive 3-hit games. And yeah, a ton. I think he had 15 RBI, a ton of RBIs.
Marlins did not have a good trip into Colorado this year. They lost 2 of 3. Cody bangs one up the middle. Herrera has this one, and he throws him out. Remember, it was a doubleheader on a Saturday. The Marlins won the first game 4-1. Ricky was terrific. 8 innings, 9 strikeouts. Dan Uggla and Brett Carroll hit homers. But then the Rockies flattened the fish from there. Aaron Cook, a complete game. Miguel Olivo hit a 3-run homer and an 8-1 win.
And then the tough atmosphere in that Sunday game.
Chopper, Stewart barehands it, and Stanton beats it. Rockies' first look at Mike Stanton.
And all of a sudden, the Rockies are saying, hey, this big guy can run a little bit. Chopper had a nice at bat his first time up with a base hit. Stewart knew that he had to barehand to try to get that play, and just beating it out is Mike Stanton for his second hit. Yeah, that afternoon game, the passing of team president Kelly McGregor, the Rockies having a memorial service before the game. That was a tough day for all.
Nice pick by Herrera, and the Rockies are going to get a double play on a sharp hit ball off the bat of Paulino. So good defense for the Rockies here in the fourth. 3-2 Fish. Against the Rocks, a noon start on Thursday, and that is a JJ start on camp day. Just as we look forward to the Marlins games, you can live forward with Just for Men hair color.
What a treat for the campers.
Sanchez throws a strike. Our Subway fifth inning, home of the $5 footlong. Play hard, eat fresh. Fastball misses up and in. It's 1-1. We check in with Allison. Alec?
Hey, guys, as we see Seth Smith up to bat here. You guys mentioned earlier he went to Ole Miss. He was actually roommates on the road with the Marlins' Chris Coughlin, but he also played football when he was at Ole Miss. In fact, he was the backup to Eli Manning, and he said, as you would expect, backing up a Manning, he of course never saw any action, and I didn't realize how unique it was until several years later when Eli went to win the Super Bowl, be the Super Bowl MVP with the Giants. And he's not the only Colorado Rocky that has a Manning connection. First baseman Todd Helton, who's currently on the DL, also played with older brother Peyton Manning while at Tennessee. In fact, he was in front of him on the depth chart. When the original starter got hurt, Todd went in, but then he tore his MCL. That opened the way for Peyton, and well, the rest, as they say, is history. Luckily, though, for Todd, his MCL was good by baseball season, and that's worked out pretty well for him as Smith gets a base hit here that he's going to stretch into a double. Helton also said that him and Peyton continue to keep in touch, and he's even come out to a couple Rockies games, both in Colorado, and while on the road, they remain good friends to this day, guys.
Yeah, you're right. Some good college football players.
It worked out pretty well for the Mannings, too.
Have ended up in Colorado. Yeah, it did. Smith, a double to open up the fifth, and now Sanchez is going to have to do some pitching. You've got Herrera, then Carlos Gonzalez, and then Jason Giambi.
Let's see what Herrera does to try to move Smith over to third.
Shortens the bunt, takes outside.
This is that situation, a little different for the Marlins with Gabby Sanchez hitting that number 2 hole. Edwin wants to see Gabby swing to try to send a ball the other way. In the case of Herrera, with the meat in the order behind him, I'm sure Tracy said, okay, get him over best way you can, but bunting would probably be the best way.
There's the bunt. Cantu picks it up. Jorge's throw is on the money. And Smith is now at third. He's 90 feet away. All right, you went Pedro Estacio. I'll go Jeff Francis on you. Our AT&T trivia.
Could throw in an Aaron Cook, too.
Now that's a good one. You changing your answer?
No, I just threw him in.
Well, you got Estacio and Francis, so we're both right there. And then who would have guessed Kevin
Ritz, right-hander.
Andy Griffith's favorite pitcher. Gonzalez, a tough out. Struck out in the first, singled in the third. Pulls a ground ball. Runner coming home. Gabby's throw in time. He is out. Great play. Good heads up. Sanchez had the play in front of him. Didn't rush it.
Yeah, that's the key. You had that play going on contact with one out, ground ball in the infield. But the whole key, a lot of times you'll see an infielder really rush. Gabby knew he had time. He had the play right in front of him. Took his time and made a perfect throw to allow Ronnie Paulino to block Smith off the plate. Watch his left leg. Just get down, block him off the plate. I don't know if he ever got there.
Now Giambi. Gonzalez will steal a base, and he's running on the first pitch. And Giambi,
that's a break right there.
Giambi should have let that ball go. I mean, he was 3/4 of the way to second base. I know it. Is it a little tougher, Tommy, and you were a left-handed hitter, for a left-handed hitter to realize what type of jump a guy gets?
No, you can tell. You can see with peripheral vision. You can see the runner. And that really surprised me because Giambi, all the experience, 38 years old, a guy who grinds it out, can hit with 2 strikes. Really surprised me that he swung.
Of course, if he hit it in the seats, then we'd say, hey, nice job by Giambi.
Yeah, good aggressive hitting.
Yeah. Well, his 2-run single was a painful one for the Fish in the third. That came after the Marlins had committed a big error. Mike Stanton, a throwing error on that play as well.
Another thing that you have to do here, and Sanchi is trying to do it, you can't allow Gonzalez to get the same kind of jump that he got on that pitch that Giambi fouled off.
Not running. Sanchez gets another strike. See if he's running 0-2. You wonder if the Marlins might pitch out 0-2. Sanchez merely waiting him out, which is sometimes as good a move as there is, just to hold the ball for a while. Not running. Giambi lines it into left center. Cody on the run, and the gap is there. Makes a catch. Leadoff double. No problems on a nice play by Gabby Sanchez. Still 3-2. car, truck, or van, who are you going to call? 1-877-MAROONY. By South Florida Ford. Visit SouthFloridaFord.com for great offers. And by Checkers. Little place, big tastes. A couple of defensive miscues, and both teams have taken advantage. The Rockies getting a couple of runs in the third inning against the Fish, and the Marlins answering with 3. And Sanchez faces Jimenez, and there's a strike.
Yeah, kind of interesting, Rich. The Rockies, as you pointed out, with 107 double plays that they've turned, leading the National League. Turned a nice one to end the 4th inning, but the one they didn't turn is the one that got him in trouble tonight.
And the funny thing about that is that both those balls were hit by Ronnie Polino. Sanchez a little pop-up. And Herrera, who makes the catch, was the guy who was involved in both plays. The one that got under his glove was a real routine play. The one that he picked for a double play was a smash. And he had to make a backhand pick to start the flip. Bonifacio, certainly the biggest hit for the Marlins in this ball game. Bonifacio with 1 out and a runner at both second and at third. Lined one up the middle for a base hit, drove in 2. He's ahead of the count now, 2-0.
I know after the break, Edwin Rodriguez talked about lineup changes, some changes to his lineup. This was not what he had in mind with Chris Coghlan being hurt, not being able to play, but he likes Bonifacio in that leadoff spot.
Our partners at Bluebell Creameries want to remind you that July is National Ice Cream Month, and today is National Ice Cream Day. So go out and pick up some Caramel Kettle Crunch and pop Bluebell ice cream and enjoy. Did you know in 1984 that Ronald Reagan designated July as National Ice Cream Month and the 3rd Sunday of the month as National Ice Cream Day?
I knew I liked Ronnie.
Did not go. You could hear Bill Welke ask Mike, and that's Mike DeMuro. Gabby's bounced out and struck out. But a big play by Sanchez to throw a runner out at the plate. And the top of this inning, Seth Smith trying to score on the ground ball off the bat of Carlos Gonzalez. .98-mile-an-hour heater. And that's the nasty thing about Jimenez is it's not a straight 98. It's got life and movement. He's got the long fingers, kind of like a Pedro Martinez. So when the ball comes out of his hand, it has such a high spin rate that it's got much more action than a mere mortal's fastball.
So in the last 4 games, the Marlins have seen some interesting fastballs.
Yeah. Well, the Marlins now, interesting note, their 3rd time through. Not that 244 is any great shakes, but it's a vast improvement.
Hey, when on the year, right-handers are hitting just 187 against him. That looks pretty good.
See what Gabby gets. 3-2. Fastball, and he pulled it foul. That note right there about right-handers also illustrates one of the issues the Marlins have had offensively this year. And a good contrast is what the Rockies have in their lineup. The Marlins really don't have any left-handed balance in their lineup at all.
Something they need.
That's down low, and Gabby is aboard.
And whether it's the next couple of months or something we see next year, it's something that I'm pretty sure that the front office has addressed.
Toyota trends. Toyota moving forward since 2009, July 17th. Rockies are 27-6 in games started by Jimenez. And he's 24-4 in those games.
He's also, because of an early contract he signed, very affordable for the kind of quality stuff they're getting from him.
He is signed through 13. Hanley rolls it to short. Yeah, it's just a $10 million deal through 13, 4-year contract.
Represents a number of regular season games remaining.
Es presentado por KFC.
As we go to the 6th inning, we welcome in our old friends.
Y esas voces me suenan
Tommy and Richie, welcome back, Tommy.
Hey, thank you.
I know those voices. I've heard it before.
How about defense? You don't think it's important in baseball, huh?
Not at all. Not at all. You know, that 3rd inning, it should be 0-0.
Hey, Cookie, we've got the all-star starter on the mound in Ubaldo Jimenez. We had an all-star Hanley Ramirez driving in a run with a bunt single. You had a great all-star experience, I'm sure, managing one of the teams in the Futures game. Tell us about it.
Well, it sure was. It was great to see all these future stars, you know, all together. And you should have seen those kids, at least in my side of the dugout, and you know how happy they were. Their eyes were big enough. You know, all the great crowd that was there, the stadium, the atmosphere, the interview for them. It was outstanding. Really, it really was a great time.
Chopper to Hanley.
Al campo corto del 6-3.
Hey, we were proud to have Cookie there too. I got to see you interviewed on national TV in the dugout.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It was very nice.
Any prospects catch your eye there, Cookie?
Well, we had a couple of them. You know, Morrison was playing first base and for the USA team, and also Martinez, our shortstop in AAA. Jacksonville played very well at short with great hands, show his speed, and a pretty good hitter. And I'll tell you, that's a pretty good ball player in the future there for us.
Yeah, he's a guy that has kind of flown under the radar with the big names, the first-round picks of Dominguez and Skipworth and Morrison being a top prospect. But you look at Ozzie Martinez's numbers, Cookie, one of the things that impressed me is that he's walked more than he has struck out. His average is good, and you tell me defensively very solid as well?
Absolutely. I think that definitely, he's been quite a difference between last year and this year, the progress that this kid's made at shortstop. And I believe that eventually, I think that not only can play shortstop, I think that he could be a good second baseman.
Little looper into left field, a base hit for Brad Hopp. That's going to bring Ian Stewart up. All right, guys, have a good show.
All right, Tommy. All right, Richie.
Cookie and Raul. Always nice to visit with the pair. Here is Ian Stewart. Anibal Sanchez here in the 6th inning. He's given up now 6 hits.
They made a pretty good pitch. That ball wasn't hit all that sharply by Hopp. You see quite a difference when you compare the two lineups and the balance that the Rockies have, a good balance of lefties and righties.
We're talking about that, the fact that the Marlins really don't have a lefty presence anywhere when they face a tough righty. The Rockies have a bunch of left-handed bats they can bring out. The Hops, the Stewarts, the Giambis, Seth Smith. Which means they've got a veteran bench and some bats there. And
it also means they have a lot of righties on the bench right now.
Melvin Mora, Chris Iannetta, Ryan Spilborghs.
Switch hitter Dexter Fowler.
But the Rockies are, you know, not to the extreme that the Marlins are without a lefty. The Rockies could use a little more pop from the right side. And that's been one of the areas, you know, when they talk about trade deadline deals. One of the names that has been floated in Colorado is Dan Uggla, as a guy that the Rockies were eyeing. Another name, Jorge Cantu.
Which would give them a little right-handed pop. But you look at that National League West, the Padres still have that 4-game lead, but Rockies back 4, Giants 4.5 out, the Dodgers 5.5 out.
And it's the nature of where the Marlins are that those names are out there. The Fish are 3 under right now with the trading deadline coming up at the end of this month. That's why Prince Fielder's name is out there right now. Liner to center. Cody, good jump, makes the catch. He's going to fire to first, and it's not in time. Hop is back in. Jiffy Lube Fiesta Friday is coming up on the 23rd. That's when the Braves arrive. Play Billy Bingo, and 2,500 winners will get a Marlins floppy hat, courtesy of Metro PCS. And pick up a 4 for $54 pack, get 4 tickets, 4 hot dogs, 4 sodas, 2 programs starting at $54. 1-877 Marlins, the number to call. Speaking of Prince Fielder, Major League Baseball today suspended Johnny Venters 4 games and suspended Bobby Cox 1 game. The Braves threw at Prince Fielder twice in that series in Atlanta.
Yeah, they had a little heat going on in that series between those 2 teams. And we saw Venters. He has good stuff.
Sanchez hits Barmes, certainly not trying to hit Barmes. And up comes Jimenez.
Yeah, again, with Jimenez on deck, you'd like to get Barmes and lead off the inning with Jimenez.
You don't want to get him in this way, though.
Yeah, this is right in the meat of the back. Not quite the grunt that we hear from Cody.
That's right. Cody's a good one. Jimenez has struck out, bounced out. Ground ball, base hit down the right field line. And the Rockies have tied it from an unlikely source.
Boy, oh boy, we told you at the beginning of the game. The hit from Jimenez brings a smile, but just his 5th base hit. He's been to the plate 46 times. So hitting under 100. And just puts the bat on the ball. Found a little spot there with Gabby playing off the line, and he should be. And Jimenez ties the game.
I think one of the areas that Anibal Sanchez has made some progress in, but still has some difficulties in, is right here, is when you get down to the 7, 8 hitters, and you can put an inning away by going after a guy, nibble here, nibble there. He hits Barmes rather than say, all right, Clint, here's my best shot.
Well,
you try to hit it.
You're bringing up a great point, because we've seen 2 times tonight when Anibal has had a little adversity. The other one back in the 3rd inning when he could have gotten out of the inning 1-2-3. Cantu made the error. He wasn't able to deal with that adversity, and a big base hit by Giambi gave the Rockies 2 runs. So a little adversity here, hitting Barmes. He wasn't able to retire the pitcher, a not very good hitting pitcher in Ubaldo Jimenez.
Now he gets a very good hitting leadoff man in Seth Smith.
And you really can't let this inning get out of hand.
No. Smith singled in the 1st, hammered a double in the 5th, and he's popped out. So an enormous hitter now for Sanchez here in the 6th.
It's hard to put a sample size on, I think, hitters and pitchers when they're in the other division, because there just aren't as many at-bats and games. But Smith in 13 games against the Marlins is an over 400 hitter. He's gotten some big hits against the Fish.
Smith had the incredible year last year as a pinch hitter and always seemed to come up with the dramatic walk-off pinch hit in that September charge last year. He had 472 as a pinch hitter last year.
How about the dramatic home run he hit in the 9th inning not too long ago against the Cardinals in that 9-run ninth? Hit a 3-run walk-off homer.
Jan Marinez and Taylor Tankersley. Up the middle, into center field, and the Rockies have the lead. Seth Smith has 3 hits. That one just over the outstretched glove of Sanchez. And the Rockies back on top. Uggla had no play here.
Yeah, and again, letting it get away. Not being able to come back and make some good pitches and get out of a little jam. And that's what's really hurt Anibal Sanchez tonight.
Here's the switch hitting second baseman, Herrera. Is Paulino okay? Ronnie kind of doubled over there after he caught that pitch and is flexing his back. But keep an eye on him. Slow ground ball. Hanley has to hurry, and he just gets him. But the Rockies get 2 and are back on top, 4-3. This has been a game of mistakes here tonight with the Marlins and the Rockies. Both teams taking advantage of the other's mistakes.
Haven't been able to cover up for their mistakes.
No. Some fielding mistakes by both sides. A mistake on the mound by Anibal Sanchez in the top of this inning.
Yeah, you and I make mistakes. We just blame the crack staff.
That's right. Here's Uggla. Breaking ball is a strike. Uggla, Cantu, and Ross for this trio. Their third look at Ubaldo Jimenez, who has looked impressive but at times mortal.
I think you probably could have said the same of Strasburg.
Yes.
In Friday's game.
It was such a Strasburg and Jimenez, really, such hype and all of that. You expect the guy to come out and strike out a dozen. Look, fouls that 96-mile-an-hour fastball off. Jimenez has 5 strikeouts. He's walked a couple. 2 of the Marlins' 3 runs are earned. And the Fish have 4 hits. 2 of the Rockies' 4 runs are earned.
Well, each team with a couple of errors.
Ugly hit by a pitch. And he yanks that one to third. Stewart fires it across. In time, we check in with Craig.
Thank you, Rich. Want to say hi to good friends of the Marlins. The St. Vincent's Men's Guild is here. Lou Vetz put a big group together. How many in your group here?
I got 100 people here tonight. 100 people from St. Vincent's Catholic Church in Margate.
Good Marlin fans, and I know you're having a good time out here.
It is a super great night. Brought my granddaughter, Jennifer.
Hi, my name's Jennifer.
Hello, Jennifer. And I know you guys do great work for area charities, the police, battered women, Toys for Tots. So you're getting the word out? You need some members?
Wherever the charity is, we're out there to reach for it and help it.
Why'd you select the Marlins game to kind of galvanize the troops?
Well, you know, we're all Florida people now, even though we came from New York, New Jersey, Boston. I mean, we're all Marlin fans now.
We heard your Coral Springs accent.
Thank you. I spent 22 years down here, and I can't lose that accent.
We're glad to see you're Marlin fans, because so many come down and keep the teams, but you have adopted the Marlins. That's good to hear, right?
Definitely adopted them. I have adopted them.
Good to see you, group, and thanks for coming out and picking up some seats tonight.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you very much.
That's Lou Vetz, guys, and that's good to hear. A New Yorker sound with a Marlins heart, right?
It is. Thanks, Craig.
I like that.
The fastballs that Jimenez has been throwing by Cantu with some ease tonight. He flips up a breaking ball, and Jorge jumped on it.
Yeah, Georgie saw that pitch that he could get around on and didn't waste much time.
So Cody Ross called out on strikes in the second, bounced out in the fourth.
You know, Rich, the Marlins still looking for their first home run in the second half of the season.
Yeah, there weren't a lot of, aside from Mike Stanton and I think Brett Hayes, there weren't a lot of home runs hit on that road trip.
Yeah, the Marlins only hit 2 in Arizona, the one by Hayes and the other by Mike Stanton.
Jimenez now has gone 2-0. His pitch count continues to grow. He's at 82. Sanchez at 99. So it looks like the Marlins, if they keep it at this pace, are going to get to the Rockies bullpen. And on his way out is Miguel Olivo. Jimenez last start, he was outstanding. He beat St. Louis a run in 8 innings. He struck out 6, but as Tommy mentioned, he had the 3-game stretch before that start where he gave up 17 earned runs.
Yeah, and a little over 17 innings.
A lot of run support, though. He was just 0 for 1, or 0-1. You see Stanton on deck. It's pretty nice. You go 3 starts, give up 17 runs, and you just go 0-1. A strike to Cody, 3-1. You see the run support that he gets, and that fastball misses down low. To Cody Ross, time now for our Coors Light freeze cam. Let's see what we're going to freeze. How about the play at the plate? Freeze it. Watch the foot, the left foot of Paulino. And Ronnie Walks the former quarterback, Seth Smith. And I want to step back in that note about Jimenez. I said, isn't it nice to have such great run support that you give up that many runs and you just go 0-1? It was actually 1-0. Yeah, he won that game at San Diego, despite giving up the 4 runs in that game. He gave up 6 against Boston and 7 against San Francisco, and yet didn't lose those 2 games.
Hey, just a moment here, too. I wanted to send our condolences to the Galbraith family. Francis Galbraith passed away, a great Marlins fan, a terrific family, and I want to send our condolences to the Galbraith family.
Stan's had good swings against Jimenez. He is 2 for 2. Single to right and an infield single to third.
Yeah, Mike's had some good at-bats against Jimenez. And I think sometimes, let's say Mike Stanton faces Jimenez after not having faced Strasburg and some other tough pitchers. It's a little different assignment. But all of a sudden his confidence is gaining.
Changeup misses low, and it's 2-0. Now if you're Mike Stanton, at this part of the order, on a 2-0 pitch, you got to be looking 97, 98.
You got to look for him here. His secondary pitches right now, he doesn't have the command of. And he tried the fastball. You can see the movement, but he missed with that.
Apodaca just off the phone. Rockies bullpen is starting to scramble. Jimenez trying to protect the 1-run lead.
You're not even going to ask me because I'm going to tell you. I give Mike Stanton the green light here, 3-0.
Matt Belisle in the pen. Let's see if he swings it. Three and 1. Pretty good chance he's going to get another fastball here, too.
Power against power.
Threw it by him. Does he see another one, 3-2?
I think if he does, he climbs up a little higher in the strike zone. And I think the reason he might see another fastball is because the last couple of batters, his secondary pitches, he has to have the command of.
Remember, Stanton had that stretch where he couldn't hit a fastball. That's changed over the last week. But of course, Jimenez has one of the best in all of baseball. 3-2 coming. He rode that fastball in on his hands.
Well, that's the thing. It's not a straight fastball. No.
If it starts over the middle of the plate and ends up on your hands, if it starts outside, it's going to dive into the strike zone. It can't be like any fastball Mike Stanton has ever seen in the minor leagues.
No. Especially at Double-A.
Well, he's been on the last 2.
I think if he throws another one and it's out over the plate, he's going to pay the price. I think if he throws one of those fastballs that moves pretty good in, then he'll have a little success.
High pitch inning now at 20. Here comes 21. Stanton left field. Go ball! Get out of here!
Out over the plate! Out over the plate!
3-run shot! And the Marlins are back on top of Jimenez.
He's going to pay if it's out over the plate. That's where it was. How about 3 hits from Mike Stanton tonight against one of the game's best pitchers? It was down, but it was out over the plate. Good extension. See you later. Number 6 on the year for Stanton.
And the end of the line for Ubaldo Jimenez. Jim Tracy comes out, takes the ball, and Jimenez, the all-star starter, gives up a rocket of a homer to a 20-year-old right fielder, one of the top prospects in the game. Shortest outing of the year for Jimenez. Our Marooney called to the pen.
You need a car, truck, or van.
Ronnie Paulino against Matt Belisle. The Marlins on top after a Mike Stanton bolt deep into the night.
Maybe Mike Stanton will get a little of that Jason Hayward love now, hitting that off Ubaldo Jimenez.
2-0 pitch coming to Paulino. Ronnie hits a two-hopper out to Herrera at second. Brian Peterson is going to take this at bat. The thing about Stanton's home runs, he's got 6 of them. That's 3-run homers
and a grand slam.
And a grand slam.
He's only at 1 solo shot.
2-run shot and a solo shot. Stanton now has 23 RBIs. And again, he and Hayes are about the only guys to hit home runs in a long time.
Yeah, Marlins' first home run, second half of the season. Yeah, Mike Stanton, 23 RBIs, 28 hits, and none bigger than that one.
Peterson takes up, and it's 2-0. Brian called up to fill the role as reserve outfielder and a left-handed bat off the bench. So the end of the line for Anibal Sanchez.
Throw it into the hands of that bullpen that's been so terrific.
The one caveat is this for the Marlins pen. As you look at Belisle's numbers, is one of the Marlins' best relievers has been Jose Veras. He's probably off limits tonight because of his workload. So he'll need the rest of the bullpen to pick him up. 3-1 to Peterson. And he pulls it foul.
I think it's a little easier when a youngster gets called up in this situation, and even for some of the guys who have played for Edwin before. A little easier to come up, join the club, and you know the manager knows a little bit about you.
Ground ball out to Herrera. Wow, Peterson got up the line quickly. But the Marlins chase the National League's win leader, and they do it with a rocket. Mike Stanton, 6-4 pitch. Tomorrow night, Wednesday, and Thursday is camp day. That's a Josh Johnson start. And then the Braves come in for a Friday, Saturday, Sunday matchup. We've got all those games for you on Fox Sports Florida. The Marlins in the middle of a 17-in-a-row stretch. Mike Stanton continues the learning curve in the big leagues. A 3-for-3 night, including a 3-run homer against Ubaldo Jimenez.
Boy, that was a thing of beauty. Now it's back to that bullpen that has been so tremendous over the last few games.
And one of the components, Tommy, has been the fact that Taylor Tankersley, when called upon, has been able to get lefties out. If the Marlins could clone him, that would make the bullpen even better. When you have just one lefty, sometimes a manager can manage around that, the opposing manager. But Tank, there's no disputing that lefties, he's been able to dominate. Lefties are just 1 for 21.
The other thing, though, that opposing managers know is that that's the only lefty.
Yes.
And so once Tank is out of there, then you can manage a little different.
Big play of this ball game was the ball Carlos Gonzalez hit to Gabby Sanchez back in the 5th inning. That was with Seth Smith at third, and with one out, Smith tried to score, and Sanchez threw him out. Big breaking ball from Tank. 1-2.
Jimenez started the game with a 2.20 ERA, 4 earned runs tonight, so it goes up to 2.38.
That's another storyline going into this series, is that the bookends in this series, the Rockies starter in Game 1, the Marlins starter in Game 4, are the leading candidates for the National League Cy Young Award.
That's a big curveball again for an out.
Gabby makes the catch. All right, here are your Cy Young candidates. I hear today I heard Tim Kirkchin of ESPN say that right now, if he were to vote, Josh Johnson would be his Cy Young vote.
Well, you and I both admire Tim Kirkchin, and I'm not going to second guess him on that one.
It's an interesting discussion, though, certainly, as Giambi stands in. Do you give wins more weight than ERA?
Well, I think you have to look at the body of work, and you have to wait till the second half of the season's over.
Yeah.
Did Ubaldo Jimenez have a Cy Young first half? Yeah. But there's a lot of baseball to be played.
You know, if you took the vote on the first half, you might give it to Jimenez. But if you took the vote on the last 12 starts, hands down, it would be Johnson. Because JJ has had some historical numbers that he has run through. Johnson has gone, what now, 12 consecutive starts of 2 earned runs or less. And in fact, if Mike Stanton lets that foul ball drop, it's 12 games probably of 1 earned,
yes,
or less.
Lessons learned by the 20-year-old outfielder.
The fact that the Rockies have the lefty bat stacked allows the Fish to have Tankersley face Giambi. And if he can get Giambi with a 2-run lead, we'll see if he gets to face Olivo. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
I think a lot of that, if you're Edwin Rodriguez right now, depends on you're thinking about this inning, the 7th inning. And if you don't want Tank to face Olivo, whoever you bring in to pitch to Olivo is just going to probably pitch to one guy and get the 1 out.
Two. Giambi hangs in on a breaking ball, and the count's 3-2 now. There's Olivo. He was 0 for 3 against Sanchez. Moneyball's night is 6 innings worth, 8 hits. He does give up the 4 runs, 2 of them earned, 2 walks and 4 strikeouts.
Another one of those grinded out at bats from Giambi.
Oh, great pitch by Tankersley. Tell you what, this is the Tank we saw in 06 and 07. After the surgically repaired elbow, he's back.
Yeah, but with a little less on the fastball, but a little better pitcher. This fastball, 87, but in the right spot, had a little movement, and got Giambi to chase it.
So Tankersley gets his 2 guys, a little salute, and out he comes. Here's our Marooney called to the pen.
Truck or van. Who's gonna call? Marooney!
He's 0-1 with a 2.93 ERA. That ERA continues to fall. Sanchez, of course, opened the season on the disabled list, a hamstring injury. All-you-can-eat seats are back. Coming up on Friday night, the 23rd, Marlins and the Braves. All the hot dogs, peanuts, nachos, popcorn, and soda you can stuff in your face. All for one low price. 305-6266.
You know, we have the flip it. Flip it. We could have stuff it. Stuff it.
Here's a Levo. Sanchez misses in with the fastball. 12 homers, 43 RBIs, and a robust 319 average. Coming into, you see his average is dipped to 315. Are those bubbles flying by?
Yeah, there's a bubble thing, one of those big bubble blowers over in the third base side.
His splits are real good too, righties, lefties.
It's a Lawrence Welk revival.
A 1, a 2, and a 3. That's a 1-2-3 inning, Mr. Welk. Corona. Kick back, relax with an ice cold Corona and lime. Enjoy Corona today by Salt. In theaters July 23rd. And my TGI Fridays celebrate summer with a new Caribbean menu. Only at TGI Fridays. Rich Waltz, Tommy Hutton, Craig Minervini, Jeff Conine, Allison Williams. And 16,000 here tonight. I'm sure if you came out to see Ubaldo Jimenez at 15-1, well, the Marlins have knocked him out of the ball game and lead it here 6-4. Emilio Bonifacio, Gabby Sanchez, Hanley Ramirez in the bottom of the seventh.
Well, and that Marlins eighth inning guy, Clay Hensley, starts to get this.
Bonifacio drops down a bunt, charging is short.
Nope.
And that's it. I mean, if Bonifacio can do that consistently, he can play in the big leagues as an everyday player.
Yes, he can.
We check in with Craig Minervini. Craig?
Rich, one thing he talked about with John Malley, a la Niger Morgan, is to bunt down the lines, either down the first base line or the third base line. He saw Morgan do it very successfully in the last series. The one that Emilio tried yesterday, tried to get by the pitcher. And the problem there is, if you don't get it by him, you're out. At least down the lines, what Malley was telling him today was, hey, it's a foul ball. And they're not going to throw you. There's a spot there. They cannot throw you out. And even to the pitcher, it was a close play. So good bunt by Emilio.
Let's see if he's on the move. Well, he is there, but darting back to first base. Yeah, there's no question that he has the speed. He's versatile enough defensively that you could find a spot for him. But the key is, can he get his on-base percentage up around 350? Can he get on base?
He's the kind of guy that you have to do two things to. You have to make him stay on top of the ball and hit the ball on the ground, not hit fly balls. And you almost have to say, you know what, Emilio? Attempt to bunt one time per game.
It's one of the things that the Marlins offensively have been missing in this dry spell is guys at the top of the order getting on. And that sounds odd to say because through the month of June, Chris Coghlan and Gabby Sanchez seem to be on base 2 or 3 times a night each. Bonifacio with 2 hits tonight.
And that's the dilemma. Because I know Edwin Rodriguez likes Chris Coghlan as a number 2 hitter. But the dilemma, you have the job that Gabby's done hitting out of that number 2 hole.
Well, I think in talking to Edwin about that, he likes Coghlan in the 2 spot, and I think he'd love Gabby in the 3 or the 4 or the 5 spot. He thinks Gabby could be a real good run producer.
Well, quietly, and I say quietly because he's in that number 2 spot, not with as many opportunities. But he came into the game with a 360 batting average with runners in scoring position.
That's the other thing when you talk about Rookie of the Year and Hayward and Gabby. Hayward has been in a run-producing spot throughout the season. Gabby, remember, started the year hitting 8th and then earned a promotion to 7th, and then once he got into the 2 spot, he has stayed there. There's Clay Hensley. Matt Belisle paying close attention to Bonifacio. And that's okay. If you're Bonifacio, you want to bother the pitcher, you want him throwing over there, you want him worrying about you, you want him adjusting his delivery to the plate.
Yep, thinking about you and then making a mistake to the plate.
One and 2. If you just joined us, the Marlins and the Rockies opening up a 4-game series. The Rockies represent what the Marlins want. The Rockies are the wild card leaders. They're tied with Cincinnati going into play tonight. The Marlins are 3 under. They've been taking 2 of 3 over the weekend from Washington. Time calls. What you've missed tonight, both teams making mistakes defensively early. Edwin Rodriguez's team taking a 3-2 lead in the third. But the Rockies got 2 in the 6th with their ace, Ubaldo Jimenez, on the mound. Mike Stanton hit a 3-run homer to knock Jimenez out of the game. There goes Bonifacio. And Gabby with 2 strikes has to protect the plate and fouls it off.
And remember that at bat by Mike Stanton. He fell behind 3-0, got ahead 3-0, and was able to see lots of fastballs. And all of a sudden started being a good feel, good timing of the fastball.
Now this spot here is an interesting one because one of the keys as a base stealer is picking the right pitch to run on, and it's a breaking ball count to Gabby. And so Bonifacio was running on the 1-2. Another 1-2. He's not running. Gabby got a fastball. And if you're Belisle, you really don't want to throw 2 fastballs in a row to Gabby Sanchez, do you?
But you have a guy up there who's been selective all year. Gabby's struck out just 55 times. He's walked 32. Good on base percentage.
Lined into right field, and it's a base hit. Yeah, he did. He doubled up on the fastball. And I'm not going to say 100%, Tommy, but I would expect that some of that pitch selection by Olivo and by Belisle is because Bonifacio was at first base.
Which just hammers home the reason you want him to get on base. He disrupts things.
Gabby has a hit. Here's Hanley. Another big moment in this ball game when the Marlins rallied in the third. And Bonifacio was at third base. Hanley pushed a bunt up the line and by Jimenez to drive in a run. It gave the Fish a temporary lead of 3-2. There's nobody out here. Hanley takes a breaking ball for a strike. Takes a look at it.
Perfectly executed. Push bunt. Try to get it by the pitcher. Hanley has 101 base hits. He leads the club. Gabby has 99. He's right on his tail.
We had a live interview with Edwin Rodriguez in the 4th inning. And he talked about that play. And it was interesting to hear Edwin say he saw Hanley stare down Bonifacio at third base. And there's that unspoken signal between hitter and runner in that case. And Bonifacio knew what was coming.
It's a play you probably don't do if you have a runner at third that doesn't have a lot of speed.
And it might not be a play that you do if it's not Jimenez on the mound. You know, you've got the ace on the mound. Tough to score runs. You scratch him out any way you can. One and two. You know, the Marlins, we talked about the wild card. There's a lot of teams between the Marlins and the top, which are the Rockies and the Reds. At this point, the Marlins can't even look at the standings or worry about the wild card. They just have to win games.
Yeah, you make small little goals. Okay, get to 500. And then see what you can do from there.
Breaking ball, popped him up. And there's Barmas. And the reason you can't really look at the standings is because the number of teams between the top and the Marlins.
Yeah, there's a real battle right now with the Colorado, Cincinnati, the Giants, the Dodgers, the Mets, and the Phillies.
And the Marlins are playing the best of the best. I mean, they're playing Colorado here for 4. They're playing the East Division leaders, Atlanta, for 3. Then they go on the road to see the Giants, who are in the middle of that wild card race.
4-game series.
The division leading Padres on the road. You know, after that stretch, you think, okay, you get through that stretch, August will be a breeze. No, the Phillies, the Cardinals, and then you're going to see the Reds.
Teams that all have better records.
Belisle backs Uggla up. Matt Belisle in relief of Ubaldo Jimenez. Jimenez 5 1/3. 5 strikeouts, 3 walks.
Belisle being real careful. Get Dan Uggla that fastball that he wants to see.
Hensley and Marinas.
I think why Rodriguez is down there, if you open up the lead, we'll probably see him. If it stays a 2-run game, then we'll see Clay Hensley.
Ooh. I think that's a pitch Uggla wishes he had another.
Yeah, there was that fastball he's been looking
for. You know, in Olivo, you see him set up outside. He had to reach back in. That's usually the sequence you talk about before a ball leaves the park.
And you say, see how the pitcher missed with that pitch.
Uggla a little late on that, and I think he was looking breaking ball. But he caught up to get a piece and stay alive. Don't know if Belisle will triple up on the fastball. Two and two. Yep, another fastball, and Uggla fights it off. Belisle has been very good out of the Rockies' pen. An ERA of around 2.5. Last 15 games for Jim Tracy. His ERA just over 1. High pop-up. Gonzalez and Smith. And it's Smith who makes the catch. Our Land Rover game summary.
Yeah, it's interesting. Early on, there was some sloppiness. Could have been a 1-2-3 inning, a throwing error by Jorge Cantu allowed Giambi to drive in a couple of runs for the Rockies. And then how about this? Sure double play ball. Sloppiness from Jonathan Herrera and Bonifacio with a base hit up the middle. And the Marlins got a couple of runs. The bunt by Hanley, and then the long ball by Mike Stanton, number 6 on the year. Well, Mike made it a 6-4 game.
Visit LandRoverUSA.com. The Wild's got a couple of good hitters to pop out. Now Cantu, who singled his last at bat. The Wild busts him in with a fastball. Still have great speed out at second, so any ball into the outfield is pretty much a run. That's into the outfield. Bonifacio around third. That is a run.
And that is the Jorge Cantu of April. Clutch base hits, driving in runs, and a line shot there. Not trying to do a whole lot. Got that fastball. Stayed on it well. Nicely done, Georgia.
It's amazing what an offense looks like when you've got a speedy leadoff hitter who gets on base. And we've talked about it. Bonifacio twice now has been on. Twice he has scored. Marlins, actually the Rockies are going to appeal third base.
Well, see, Bonifacio runs and rounds the bases so fast. They didn't think he touched it. A little bit of a stutter step, but he got the inside corner. It was Bonifacio's double. He scored the only run of the game yesterday.
To Cody, Cantu, and Gabby's still out there. One. Hensley, that's his spot. Once he's ready, he puts the glove on the wall, watches,
don't mess with his spot,
and waits.
I love routines. And Clay Hensley has one.
I really like the intensity of Hensley. I know he's been a starter most of his career, but the mental makeup that he has had this year with the Marlins make him a perfect fit in the bullpen, especially in the pressure situations that he's been in the 8th inning. A lot of times, there's more pressure in the 8th inning than the 9th inning, because sometimes the 8th inning guy faces tougher hitters than the 9th inning.
It just depends on where that lineup is.
They're standing on deck. Lyle's going to feel like he's thrown a 7 or an 8 inning game here. He's already thrown 34 pitches. You get those last 2 ground balls in the 6th, and here the 7th. The Marlins have a lot of high pitch counts. And there's a base hit to right. Let's see if Gabby can score. Good arm in right with hop. And a good decision by Joe Espada.
How about the swing of Cody Ross? He's just protecting the plate. Watch this. He almost throws the bat. He does. At that slider off the plate. I thought because of that, Gabby may score because he didn't hit it all that hard, but charged really well in right field.
And Hop, one of the better throwing arms in right. And you've got Mike Stanton coming up with the bases loaded. All of those things you have to consider when you're a third base coach. In case you missed it, our Coors Light Cold Hard Blast. Great at bat against Ubaldo Jimenez. With 2 on, right now the deciding moment of the game. And a bold prediction by my partner Tommy Hutton, who said if he got another fastball, look out. And you were right.
Well, he's never had a 4-hit game at the major league level.
Palau says no fastballs for you.
Of course, he has had, Mike has, a grand slam.
Stays off the fastball.
Good job there.
Fastball for a strike, 1 and 2. Fastball had a little cut to it, a little movement. Manuel Corpus. They want it in, and they got it in. Fastball, he threw it by Stanton. Marlins get an insurance run and take a 7-4 lead into the 8th against the wild card leading Rockies. Sanchez will stay in at first, so Clay Hensley comes in, and Hensley will hit in Cantu's spot, and Helms will be in the 9 spot, and Wes is due up second in the bottom of the 8th inning.
Yeah, and Clay will get hitters 6, 7, and 8, Hop, Stewart, and Barmas here in this 8th inning.
It's a 7-4 ball game. The Marlins are on top. Nice night for Jorge Cantu. Couple of hits for Georgie, including an RBI single. Here's Hop with Stewart right behind him. So you got the lefties still in the lineup. And Hensley straddles the rubber and is ready to go. Our leaders of the game presented by JM Lexus. Winning percentage after 7 innings. Look at that. The Marlins
at 42-1. And I think one of the things that illustrates is the issues the Marlins have had in the 6th and the 7th inning, especially early in the season.
Yeah,
April, May, and June.
Yeah, because early in the season, Hensley was in that 8th inning.
Right. And the Marlins, after they got the ball in Hensley's hand and Nunez's hands, pretty good when they had that lead.
Boy, just missed with that curveball.
Clay was a post-game guest of ours on Super Saturday. Oh, big breaking ball. Hensley gets Brad Hobb looking.
Came back with it again. That time found the plate. You give up on it. You think it might hang high. It drops right in the zone. And Hopp knew it.
Hensley relaying the story about the change-up grip that his buddy Kevin Correa showed him. The grip that Tim Lincecum uses. And it just worked.
Looks like Lincecum's back on track now, too.
Hensley said he wishes he had Lincecum's fastball and maybe his funky delivery. But the changeup certainly has helped him. Breaking ball pulled foul. We've seen how, just in the course of a season, the changeup has transformed Jose Veras from ineffective reliever to really good reliever. And Hensley showed up at spring training with that changeup and breaking ball and made the club after a spectacular spring.
And when you think about it in another direction, the changeup has been an important pitch for Nunez.
Yes.
Not using it quite as much.
Yeah, that's a great point. Relying so much on it that he was getting hurt with it. O2 coming to Ian Stewart. Stewart takes outside. Stewart, a youngster out of Southern California, one of the few high school first-round picks. The first high school position player that the Rockies ever took in the first round. That was back in 2003.
Yeah, the Rockies have been, and I know over the last few years we've pointed it out, have been very consistent in drafting college hitters.
Very consistent and very successful.
Yeah.
Seth Smith, Troy Tulowitzki,
Helton out of Tennessee, if you go back further.
Hopp out of LSU. That one got away. And it's 2-2. Got to give a lot of credit to their general manager, Dan O'Dowd. Right field, that ball's hit pretty well. Stanton is back to the wall, looks up, and it's gone.
Boy, Stewart took care of that changeup. Just wasn't in the right spot, the spot that Clay Hensley wanted it. And for Stewart, his 12th of the year.
A solo shot. 7-5 game now.
The first run off the Marlins bullpen in quite some time, over 23 innings. There's that changeup that hung high, felt high, and Stewart had just a perfect swing on it.
Now Barmes. Hensley misses down low. Taylor Tankersley for a couple of outs. Brian Sanchez for an out. That's how the Marlins got the 7th inning taken care of. All of a sudden, Hensley's all over the place. Tulowitzki leaves tomorrow for his rehab assignment. Todd Helton probably will return during this series. Helton not having the type of year that you would expect from him. In 69 games, just 246, 2 homers, 16 RBIs. But still, the Rock, the emotional leader here for the Rockies, even though that some have felt that the Rockies are looking for someone that might be able to play first base.
Doesn't quite play the Gold Glove defense he used to, but still a guy who's going to give you that terrific at bat. And right now, Clay Hensley having trouble with command.
Hensley walks Barmes. Brad Eldred is going to come up. Martinez is up. Randy St. Clair is out to talk to Clay. Marlins and Rockies back at it tomorrow night. We start things at 6:30.
Brad Eldred with a few fans. Fort Lauderdale kid out of FIU.
Lefties tomorrow night. Jeff Francis finally back from a year's absence. And Nate Robertson. And you got Jason Hamill, Ricky Nolasco, Jorge De La Rosa, and Josh Johnson on camp day.
I'm sure Eldred had his eye on Garrett Whittle's hitting streak at FIU this year. I wonder if he's continued that up in Alaska.
That doesn't count. Come on. But next year's games do count. Eldred goes after the breaking ball. It's 1-1. Bradley Ross Eldred, Coconut Creek High School. She got a couple of Coconut Creek guys that we've seen lately. Matt Latos of the Padres. And Eldred, who we saw a little bit with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
You know, with Latos, I was reading with Padres, they're going to start getting careful with his innings. Well, there are a number of contending teams. The Yankees with Phil Hughes, Latos, and others that are going to be careful with some of their young pitchers.
Latos just needs to be careful the next time he sneezes. That put him on the disabled list a couple days ago. Into the bat, little flare out in the center. Cody charges in, and he makes the catch.
Good job by Clay Hensley because Eldred's a good fastball hitter. He featured a lot of off-speed stuff, got him with that curveball.
In case you hadn't heard, Latos, as he was walking down some steps, tried to suppress a sneeze.
And just let it out.
Felt something in his side. And with the All-Star break, the Padres were able to disable him and backdate the 15-day DL start date so that I think he's eligible to come off on the 24th.
Well, that's still going to hurt their rotation.
5 days away?
The Marlins will probably see him then.
Yeah, that's right. Marlins have seen him already twice this year, right?
Be our third series
against the Padres,
against San Diego.
Who knew at the start of the year that those series were going to be that tough?
Yeah, you almost looked at that scheduling and you said, wow, you get the Padres 3 times.
Although I will say this, at the start of the season, on a lot of talk shows, people would ask for surprise teams. I'd lob a Padre team in there simply because of the way they finished last year.
Yeah, Cincinnati was lobbed in there too.
Yeah,
as a surprise team.
But the Padres had such a good August and September last year that you thought, well, maybe they'll continue it.
They've done so well that I saw where Bud Black had his contract extended 3 years.
But notice I used the word lobbed. I didn't throw them in there. I would throw
lob.
I would throw Cincinnati.
It was like one of your tremendous tennis lob shots.
Yeah. Yeah, right. throw Cincinnati and lob Cincinnati and lob San Diego in. Paulino knocks it down.
You remember, speaking of San Diego, all throughout spring and very early in the season, everybody had Adrian Gonzalez traded, and maybe even Heath Bell.
Oh, yeah. Now the hard part, I think, for San Diego is going to be re-signing Gonzalez. Pitch misses low and inside.
That is one, if they don't, and I don't care what you give him, this guy's San Diego. He's the San Diego Padres.
More so than Prince Fielder is the Milwaukee Brewers.
Absolutely.
Hensley back on track with that pitch. Dealing with Seth Smith, who's a dangerous man right now. 3 hits, 2 singles, a double, a dozen home runs, and a long ball here ties the game. Varmus on the move. And Hensley loses Smith. Jonathan Herrera is coming up. You can see Edwin on the top step.
Yeah, just not as sharp as he's been the last couple of games.
And he's going to go to the bullpen. So Hensley comes out, and the youngster's coming in. A Marooney called to the pen.
When you need a car, truck, or van.
Be transmitted in any form, accounts and descriptions of the game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Marlins. This game tightening up right now in the 8th. 7-5. The Rockies have runners first and second. Jonathan Herrera is up. Jan Marinez in his second major league appearance. He is just 21. And here he comes out of the pen, and a good indication, Tommy, that Jose Veras is off limits tonight. There's a good fastball for a strike.
Well, with the number of pitches Veras has thrown the last couple of days. Well, the season started for Marinez about an hour north in Jupiter, Roger Dean Stadium.
Pitched great there, stopped in Double-A, and tore it up there.
So certainly a big test for him here.
Plus fastball, very good changeup, third pitch, breaking ball. Fastball, right field, that's deep. Stanton's back at the track, it's gone. Jonathan Herrera, his first home run of the season. And the Marlins lead goes up in smoke.
Well, he took a 95-mile-an-hour fastball that was up, belt high, and sent it a long way for his first Major League home run. We have a couple of young guys, one giving up his first one and one hitting his first one.
What a turn of events. Here's Gonzalez now, and he takes a strike. Well, the Marlin bullpen that had been so good tonight stumbles. Gives up 2 homers here in the 8th inning. And the Rockies bullpen getting busy now.
Well, Herrera certainly making up for his error earlier in the game and getting Jimenez off the hook.
Rafael Betancourt getting loose. That ball held by Paulino. Jonathan Herrera, his first Major League homer. Ian Stewart started it against Clay Hensley. Rodriguez taken deep by Herrera. Mike Stanton, a couple of hits early against Ubaldo Jimenez. And then a blast that knocked Jimenez out of the game. A 3-run homer. Now that lead, the Marlins would increase to 7-4, erased in a real hurry by the Rockies in the top of this inning. 8-7 Colorado, and the Marlins will get a look at right-hander Rafael Betancourt now.
Well, that's a tough thing. The Marlins have scored more runs in this game than the entire 3-game series against the Nationals. And they find themselves a run down and having to do battle now with Rafael Betancourt. Good fastball, slider, a few curveballs.
$8-9-1 for the Fish. Remember, Helms is in the 9 spot, so it's Paulino, Helms, and Bonifacio. Betancourt tough on righties. Of course, the Marlins have a bunch of them.
It's another thing about the Marlins lineup. We talk about it often. With the lack of left-handers, no mixing and matching for that opposing manager.
Strikeout to walk ratio for Betancourt, very good, though his ERA is close to 5. Just 5 walks. And he goes a couple of fastballs to Paulino. He's out in front 0-2.
Well, he has allowed 5 home runs in his 32 innings.
This time Ronnie gets a piece of the fastball and fouls it back. So it's been a wild night here. It started with a couple of defensive misplays by both teams that led to 5 runs total in the third. The Rockies got 2, the Marlins got 3. The Rockies roughed up Sanchez in the 6th for 2 runs and took a 1-run lead, and of course Stanton's home run erased that. But the Rockies doing what the Rockies do best, and that's come from behind. Though they usually do it at Coors Field.
Well, we talked about them being a much better team at home. They're 19-25 away from Coors.
He finally bent one to Paulino. It's 1-2. Of course, the Rockies in that bullpen have some quality arms. You got Houston Street down there. You've seen Belisle, Joe Beimel. Ronnie chops it to third. And Stewart makes the throw across. Up comes Wes Helms. A weapon like Beimel, though not as important in a series like this, because as we know, the Marlins are so right-handed hitter heavy.
Yeah, he's their Taylor Tankersley.
Now Helms. West didn't see a lot of time over the weekend. Breaking ball for a strike. In fact, this is his first at bat of the homestand.
So you had the 4-day All-Star break. It's been a while for Wes.
Betancourt's got him 0-2. Ball and 2 strikes. Here it is, a night where we open the show talking about 2 26-year-old pitchers, one who is 15-1, the other whose earned run average is in the mid-3s. Both who have thrown no-hitters in the big leagues. And we've got an 8-7 game.
Well, what did Forrest Gump say? Games like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Well, the other thing we talked about is the fact that Jimenez is 15-1, but he's pitched in some games where he's deserved to get some losses, but his offense has bailed them out. And this is yet another game like that.
Yeah, he was looking at 15-2.
He was looking at 15-2.
So he, as players will say, shook the hook.
After being behind 0-2, Helms has worked the count full to 3-2. Fastball popped him up. Herrera, who's been the center point On so many plays in this game, both offensively and defensively, makes the catch. Herrera hit the big home run against Marlins. Here comes Bonifacio.
Yeah, he signed as a 16-year-old because he's just 25, but he's been 9 years in the organization.
Two-hit game for Bonifacio. Two-run single in the third. Bunt base hit in the seventh. He has scored 2 runs.
Yeah, that Herrera home run took the life out of this crowd, too.
16,000 here tonight. Bonifacio running up, trying to slap it by Stewart at third base. Ball and a strike. A rare breakdown by the Marlin bullpen. Clay Hensley charged with 3 of those runs, 3 of the 4 in the 8th inning.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, not because of giving up the 3 runs, but it wouldn't be surprised if Clay Hensley's off limits tomorrow night.
Hensley worked on Sunday and on Saturday.
And it gets back to the old thing. And unfortunately, in the JJ game, early pitches, his all-star appearance, it gets back to the old thing. You still need to get more than 6 out of the starter occasionally, because every night you're depending on 3 innings from that bullpen, and then you're starting to roll the dice a little bit.
Jeff Conine yesterday making an impassioned argument for moving the bar up on the quality start stat to 7 innings and 3 runs or less.
I'll vote for that one too. I know that our grand marshal of graphics would vote for that too.
See, and Niner and I were trying to figure out who in the world made that a stat. Who decided 6 innings?
That's a good question. I don't know where that came about.
My thought was it was a 500 pitchers agent going into arbitration decided that, you know what, hey, my guy's gone 6 innings and 3 earned runs. Well, let's call that a quality start. Two and 2.
So you're not tagging that onto the geek guys.
Now we're being told by our crack staff that a writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer, John Lowe, no relation to Derek.
Let's see, is your John Lowe, unless there's another John Lowe, is a well-respected writer in Detroit, the Detroit Free Press, unless there's another John Lowe.
Well, you know our crack staff.
Not for me to question our crack staff either.
Bonifacio to center. Gonzalez runs that down. And the Marlins are going to the 9th inning here, down a run. It is 8-7 Colorado in the 9th. Jason Giambi, Miguel Olivo, and Brad Hott. And it's Marlins who fires a fastball that misses down low to Giambi. Marlins goes 2-0.
And you have a 38-year-old veteran who knows how to work pitchers and working a young pitcher.
Giambi, of course, a long career, ranks among active major league leaders in several categories. Home runs, 6th, 7th in RBIs. There's Houston Street. 5th in on-base percentage, 5th in walks. He's only one of 2 players this year to have a 4-hit game and be at least 39 years old. The other would be Jim Edmonds. Giambi rifles one into right field, and the Marlins can't afford to let this one get any further away. Our Checkers double of the game, the 2 home runs. This was the changeup that Stewart hit out. That looked like it wouldn't hurt that much. It made it 7-5. But Hensley came out, Martinez came in, and Jonathan Herrera hit his first big league homer, a 3-run shot.
Well, and Giambi's going to leave after that single. Jim Tracy sends out Dexter Fowler, the speedster, to pinch run for him.
Olivo's up. Fowler, the pinch runner, and has base stealing speed. Olivo goes after a high fastball and fouls it back. The Cincinnati Reds, of course, tied with the Rockies for the wild card lead. The Rockies dropped 2 of 3 in Cincinnati. And the Reds are whipping up on the Nationals tonight, 6-2. Johnny Gomes and Miguel Cairo have homered for Cincinnati. That is a good ball club right now. They get Edinson Volquez back.
Johnny Cueto, I think, started that game.
Got some good young pitching that's really gelled.
Drew Stubbs. Oh, got some big hits for them.
There's another organization, Tommy, that's been able to draft well and draft some pretty good college hitters and develop some high school hitters as well. Jay Bruce, Stubbs, Votto. Oh, 2 coming. Breaking ball, and Martinez gets a strikeout of Olivo, and that brings Brad Hott up.
Number 11, right fielder.
Good off-speed pitch to get an excellent fastball hitter.
The Mets are in Arizona, and the Diamondbacks have scored 3 against Mike Pelfrey in the bottom of the 1st inning and are still hitting.
Tell you what, the Mets almost got swept in a 4-game series in San Francisco.
Runner goes. Paulino's throw, out of Hanley's glove. And safe with a stolen base is Dexter Fowler.
Boy, he's lucky, and so are the Rockies, because this throw was in time. It was another good throw by Ronnie. And Hanley just dropped it as he tried to apply the tag.
See if it popped out before the tag, or if maybe the tag...
He never caught it.
Never caught it.
Probably trying to put the tag on him before he caught it. A little too soon.
Hop. Been a solid run producer. An all-star last year. a national champion with LSU in 2000. Marlins, in a perfect world, would love to get Jimenez to finish this night so they don't have to go back to the bullpen. They've already used Tankersley, Sanchez, and Hensley.
Well, since Veras is probably off limits, the only choice would be the Hopper or Baden-Hopper.
And tomorrow, I think that the Marlins really want to have Hopper in reserve for a Nate Robertson start. Gabby has it, and he'll flip it to Jimenez. In fact, that was the main reason that Edwin broke up Alex Sanabria and Nate Robertson, because Sanabria, on a pitch count, as they ramp him back up to being a starter, you didn't want him back-to-back with Nate and have back-to-back short starts.
Yeah, you have a couple of guys, and Nate at best is going to give you 6 innings, and at this point he's like a 5-6 inning guy, so you know you're going to have to use that bullpen.
But the problem is the two pitchers around Sanabria, JJ and Sanchez, both turned in 6-inning starts. Gabby gathers it in. Jimenez gets through a scoreless night. But the Marlins are trailing by a run, which will get Houston Street in the ninth. Visit us at geico.com or call 800-947-AUTO. Wild night at the ballpark. 8-7 Rockies. Bottom of the ninth rolls around, and the Rockies roll out their closer, Houston Street.
Well, I'll tell you what, Rich, they're happy to roll him out because the first 69 games of the season, he was not available. He had an inflamed right shoulder. So they're happy at this point to get their closer out there. A lot of changes for the Rockies. Melvin Mora comes in. Remember, Giambi got the base hit and was pinch run for by Dexter Fowler, who also stays in to play center field, and that moves Carlos Gonzalez, who was in center, over to right field. And there is a look at Houston Street. Good fastball and sliders. A real battler, the guy who likes the ball in these situations. The Marlins are tied with the Mets for the fewest come from behind wins in the major leagues.
Gabby Sanchez against Street. Fastball is up.
And to make it even more devastating, 4 last at-bat wins for the Fish, fewest in the major leagues. So trying to pick things up in that area.
1-42 when trailing after 8 innings are the Marlins. Gabby fouls it off, which is another head scratcher because this group that's been together since 2006 has been a very good come-from-behind team with lots of wild walk-off moments over the last 5 years. Street goes 1-1 now on Gabby, and a wicked breaking ball is outside. It's 2-1.
And now the Marlins do have Burt Baycock loosening up because you have to anticipate if you tie this game, certainly going to need somebody in the 10th inning. So if you're Hopper right now, you kind of go easy. Don't need to go hard quite yet.
Gabby goes all out on that fastball and fouls it back. We're talking about the Marlins and their lack of success coming from behind. Look at the Mets, 0-34 when trailing after 8. The Cubs are 0-45. So the Marlins have company. Gabby, it's a high fly ball to center. Fowler comes in, makes a catch. The Street has 1 out. Here comes Hammond. Hanley tonight, 1 for 4. That one, an RBI bunt single.
No bunting here from Hanley.
Breaking ball from Street, and it's 0-1. Hanley has just 1 at bat against Street in his career, and he walked to right field. See how deep Gonzalez was playing. And the Marlins are down to their last out, and it's Dan Ugla. Now, Ugla does have a little history against Street. When Street was in Oakland, Ugla had a big series, including a home run and a double. So he is 2 for 4 against him. Remember, no Cantu on deck. That's the pitcher spot. Donnie Murphy is on deck.
And there is Donnie Murphy, the aforementioned Donnie Murphy.
Ugly little check swing, and it's a ball and a strike. This will be a tough one to lose if the Marlins end up losing this ball game. To have knocked Ubaldo Jimenez around and out and had a 3-run lead going into the 8th.
Had Jimenez sitting on his 2nd loss of the year.
I don't know what it is in an oddity in baseball, but winning a 4-game series is tough. Winning 3 of 4 is tough. But man, if you could start that 4-game series by beating the other team's ace.
Yeah, you're in good shape.
What a great head start. And that's what the Marlins were looking at. Let's see what Ugla gets. 2-1. Fastball missed outside. 3-1. See if Uggla gets a fastball here. He did, but it missed.
See it, that missed by much. It looked like it had some good movement. It came back.
It's really close. That's, you know, that when the ball is up along that line, that's a border. I guess you would call it a borderline pitch that could go either way. Marlins will take it. They get a base runner. But remember, the Fish don't have a real deep bench. And Cantu was taken out of the double switch when the Marlins were up.
And Chris Coughlin not available.
So the Marlins are playing with a short bench without Coughlin. It's Donnie Murphy who comes up. Cody Ross is on deck. So the tying run is at first. The Rockies outfield is about as deep as you can play in this ballpark. That's outside. 1-0.
Well, the Marlins hoping to get what the Rockies got from an unlikely source. They got that big home run from Jonathan Herrera.
This would be an unlikely source. Murphy drives it right field, hits it deep. Gonzalez back. It is gone. Ball game.
An unlikely source.
And the Marlins walk off with an incredible win. Donnie Murphy. My goodness.
And to top it all off, an opposite field shot from Donnie Murphy.
Our South Florida Ford spotlight of the game. You write a script like this, and it's rejected.
Oh, my. He's hit 11 career home runs now, Donnie Murphy, in time with Kansas City and Oakland. Number 11 right there, he's in none bigger.
What a huge win for the Marlins. This is incredible.
An unlikely source.
And down below is Donnie Murphy with Allison Williams.
Donnie Murphy with a walk-off home run. What is going through your mind right now?
I can't even explain it right now. You know, I came in with the plan that he was my teammate. I was looking for a fastball outside and he gave me a good pitch to hit.
At what point did you realize it was gone?
I honestly didn't know it was gone until they went in the stands, so I had no clue until it came off, until it landed out there.
The feeling on the bench as you go into the game, what's going through your mind? What was the atmosphere around the team?
All I was trying to do is just get a ball to drive in the gap, hopefully tie the game. But I mean, my adrenaline's pumping right now, you know, so nothing beats that at all.
You come in the bottom of the ninth, but this was a strange game tonight. We saw a lot of errors in the third. Donnie Murphy, that's a good sign when you get the pie. How's it feel?
Yeah, my eyes are burning a little bit right now, but it's a nasty taste, too.
All right, go get that wash off. We don't want to burn his eyes anymore. He's obviously got some good sight. Donnie, congratulations, guys.
He's got that clean menthol smell, though, that's for sure. What a moment for the Marlins.
How about the first Major League win for Edwin Rodriguez? Oh, my.
A roller coaster of a ride ends with the Marlins walking off on a two-run shot by Donnie Murphy. How do you like that? Marlins Live is next.